So I'll go ahead and get started because I know we're trying to be on a schedule here. But I am excited to introduce Diane because I feel like this is a diverse group, and Diane kind of brings all sorts of diverse aspects together. Geographically, I just realized she's from the East Coast, yet went to school in the Midwest at Carnegie Mellon, also a very good school, and is now out here. And while Diane is currently the CEO of Share Some Style, which is more I would say, liberal arts type of business, her background is also in more technology-focused businesses. So she has been through any number of startups, which you will see from her portfolio. In addition, what's exciting is that she was a creator of something called Falcon, which talks about the importance of failure, which we will continue to have as a theme throughout the afternoon, believe it or not. So I also would like to say that you never know how you'll meet somebody, and that's really important. And Diane, I just happened to meet because one of the speakers who's coming tomorrow happened to introduce me to her. And believe it or not, I'm a talker. So in the conversation, it kind of came up. And so I am thrilled that it worked out that Diane can be with us. And I think it'll be exciting for you all to listen to her and offer even more diversity to this group. So Diane, thank you for being here. And awesome. Take it away.
Can you guys hear me on the mic? Okay, cool. So I'm Diane, and yeah, right now I'm CEO and co-founder of a startup called Share Some Style. So this was me, like maybe 4 years ago, and I had like bushier hair. And a little bit about my background. I went to school for architecture and anthropology at CMU. I moved down to California, and I became a startup founder. And then that startup failed, so I know all about failure. And then I became a UX researcher, and I worked at Mozilla, who makes Firefox. I don't know if you guys, sometimes people don't know Mozilla. They're like, what's that? I'm like, yikes. Okay, so then, and then ever since, I've obviously been mentoring startups. And now I'm super excited to be a startup founder again. Once you lose that title and you go work at a big company, it like all goes downhill. So I'm just super excited that I can say, oh, I'm a founder again. So the last 8 years of my life, Wattbot was the first company I started. While that was doing really well, ironically, I started Falcon. I'll tell you guys more about that later. And then I've worked with a lot of different healthcare, social, mobile, tech, financial companies, big, small. Then, like I said, I went to Mozilla to be their first qualitative user researcher. And currently, I mentor at 500 startups and Web Forward, which is Mozilla's incubator. And then I worked with a fashion startup, Bombfell, for just a short stint, freelanced. And now I'm doing Share Some Style, which is a service that connects you to personal stylists that can really help you up your game in style. So I moved out to San Francisco right after spending 5 years in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'd read all these press articles about how San Francisco is like the greenest city in the U.S. and it's so awesome. And I get here and I'm like, why are there no green roofs? I just like built a green roof for 5 years, just on the side, just I don't know, for fun. I had a research grant as an undergrad, and I built one, and it was or kind of coordinated the whole thing, 4,000 square feet, so like huge. And so I was like, oh, I'm an expert in green roofs. That's what I'm going to bring to California. So I get here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there are no green roofs. I can't get a job. And so like the second day I was here, my boyfriend at the time, who went to Berkeley just at Soda Hall, just across for engineering, he was doing his PhD. He was over here, and I was like sitting at home, nothing to do. So the second day, I went to this nonprofit, and they were called Spur. I was just helping them, or I went to a lecture they were having about green building in San Francisco in general. And I was like, this is like what I studied. I love this stuff, really excited. So I go and I'm like, so like guys, like where are all the green roofs? And they're like, oh, there's one like 2 hours north of the city. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you guys are BSing me. Like, what the hell? I was like kind of furious, but I was like, oh, cool. So So needless to say, basically like the next week, I started a green roof task force for Spur. Over a year's time, just like pro bono, just on the side, something to keep me like doing a project, keep me meeting people, having different tribes. I worked with a whole bunch of, or not a whole bunch, very few number of architects, landscape architects, and we made a whole logo for ourselves, and we were like, there aren't any green roofs in the city. We want to make more green roofs in the city. How are we going to do that? We had all these lectures. We educated people. What a green roof was. No, it doesn't make like your ceilings leak. No, you don't just put dirt and like see something grow on a roof, right? So we're educating them, and then we're like, but we got to make this real to the people. Like people have to see green roofs around, and then they'll want it, and they'll ask their architects for it. So we decided to put green roofs on a bus shelter, and we wanted to do it all along Market Street in downtown San Francisco. And, SFMTA was like, no. And we're like, what? That's a great idea. What are you talking about? And so we spent all this time, we're really speccing it out. Like, we know, like, exactly how much load bearing it can take and everything. Really technical, right? They weren't into it. So then we're like, all right, fine, let's just do one, okay? And let's make it a pilot. Let's just make it up there for 3 months. It'll go away, right? It's just 3 months. So long story short, we get one up there, and I thought this project was like failing. This is what it looked like the real deal. And National Geographic emails me because we had like all this literature up on the web of like what we're doing, and they're like, so we're going to be in town. We're doing this whole feature on green roofs, and can we photograph your bus shelter? I'm like, can you photograph mine? Sure. I was like, what am I going to do? Say no and stand in front and be like, stop. And I was like, oh, I'm a National Geographic. That's awesome. That was the last time I did green roofs. But the story here is solve problems you're passionate about, because you never know where stuff's going to go. And don't just go after the money or do stuff because you think it's cool or hot or whatever. I was really passionate about green architecture, and I came here and that's what I wanted to do. And so just on the side, I wasn't like, how am I going to make this a startup? How am I going to make this a venture? I was just like, I'm really excited about green roofs. No one else is. So I'm going to make them all excited about it. And so that happened. Simultaneously, we have this apartment. It's great. It's in the Castro. I go up to the roof. It's not really like a finished roof or anything. It's too windy to actually hang out there, but I have a roof. So I went up to it. This is week 2, right? So the green roof thing started day 2. This is week 2. And again, I've read all this PR about how San Francisco is really green. I don't know what I was reading, by the way. And I'm like, where are all the solar panels? And I'm like, am I going insane? I swear, this is supposed to be the greenest city. So, okay, so now this is pissing me off, and I'm like, I gotta solve this. Where are they? So I talked to a whole bunch of homeowners who have solar panels. I understand why they have them. I talked to a whole bunch of homeowners who don't. I talked to a whole bunch of renters about what they would do if they could save energy, and just have you heard of solar panels? What about? I'm doing all this research, just being curious, just because I'm I want to know, and this is driving me crazy. And then I talked to a whole bunch of solar installers, and I had them come over to my roof, and I'm like, so how many panels can I fit here? And oh, how do you connect them? And they're giving me all this tech stuff, and I'm taking notes and taking photos. Then we go, we sit in my dining room table. I'm I think this one guy came. I had maybe 20 guys come to my house. So I'm just doing research, and again, I'm also looking for jobs to work at a green architecture firm. That's not going so hot. So I'm what else am I going to do? I'll invite people over and do some research. It kept me from calling my mom every day. It was good. So then I'm also talking to all these installers, and they're sitting on my couch at my dining room table, explaining to me all this stuff, more stuff than I really cared about solar panels. Granted, I studied green architecture, right? I kind of know this stuff, but I didn't know it to that level. I built a solar-powered house in college. I knew, I get it, right? I can handle this. They're still spending 2 hours with me, and I'm I'm not a very qualified lead. This is really interesting. I actually can't put anything on my roof. I don't own my roof. I'm a renter. And so we're all right, there's 2 problems here. Homeowners are so confused about all the things out there that they're doing nothing. That's why there are no solar panels, because it was so confusing to figure out if that was a good economic decision or not. And then from the provider side, they were speaking with unqualified leads. Like, they were hanging out with people like me. I don't know why. And I didn't even lie. I was like, I am a renter. Would you still come? Sure. I was like, does that mean you don't have enough business? Like, this is messed up. So anyway, we're like, oh, 2 different problems. I can solve them together. Partnered with this guy who is CS PhD, so totally yin-yang. Like we were talking about before, didn't have any same skills. He like coded throughout the night, and I slept during the night. And we're like super opposites. It was kind of crazy, but it was also kind of awesome. So anyway, so we started Wattbot, like a kilowatt and a robot. We thought it was like the coolest name. And it still is, but it doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, so it was a trusted energy recommendation engine that set qualified leads to energy providers. So we'd tell the consumers the best thing to do to save money on their energy bill, and then because we told them what was best, we also knew like they're really ready to buy a solar panel, or they really need a home energy audit. You should come, like they're super qualified. So great idea. We failed because we didn't really know how to market it, and we spent too much time building it. So that's that. Okay, so then, like I said, at the height of Wattbot, we're still prototyping it and getting just tons of feedback, and we should have freaking just launched the thing and really got better feedback. But in the height of Wattbot, I started Falcon, and I wasn't like, I want to start a conference. I was like, why is there no dialogue around failure? I'm super scared. I'm out here. I don't know what I'm doing. My co-founder of Wattbot was a serial entrepreneur, so he knew like what a startup was. I was like, I don't know what a startup is. It's like this idea, and you do it full time, and you don't get paid. Okay, so that's what I did. And so again, I'm just like always doing research. And later I realized that like people get paid to do research, but you don't go to undergrad for user research, so I didn't really know that that was even a thing. But I'm just being curious, and I'm just asking people and sharing my ideas and just talking, right? So anyway, talking to this other girl that actually plans events, and I'm like, there is nothing around failure. If I hear freaking Mark's name, like Facebook, and I can't take it anymore, like I want to hear the real deal, like how come that guy failed, and how come, like I don't want to fail, I want to learn from them. And she was like, I was just talking to someone else about maybe doing like a conference, and I was like, let's do it. We met at a coffee shop, we're like, let's just do it. So we're in our 5th year. It's ironically going really well, Falcon, haha. I'm like, if I hear that joke one more time. And I want you guys to come. I want you all to come. And so if you go to thefalcon.com, October 21st, which is like right around the corner, use the discount code UC Berkeley, and it's like $100 to come, when normally it's like $200-300. So I really want you guys all to be there. But we've had all of these people speak and more. And it's all around tech startups, but it's really great because that day you can just be honest with people, and you don't have to be pumping up your company all the time. Like, oh yeah, it's so great. You can just be like, I'm so depressed. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, I totally screwed up my launch and my PR, and I just lost my engineer. And like, it's a really great day that you can't get any other day throughout the year. Okay, so then I freelanced for all those companies I showed you. And then I was like, oh, I'm really missing working with a team, and I really want to work on like a real product again and like get back into that stuff. But I had no money, so I couldn't like go do another startup. But no, actually, what I was really interested was what all my friends did during the day. Like they worked for real companies, and I was kind of afraid that I would like be 40 and never work for a real company. And so I was like, oh, I got to get that in now. Like I got to get like the experience under my belt. So I worked for a real company. That was Mozilla, and they one of the last projects I worked on, which is like one of the really big projects that they're still working on now, was basically they're trying to build Firefox OS is like the operating system in this new phone, and they're trying to bring it to emerging markets. And so I went on their first trip to Brazil. We went to a few different cities and tried to understand how people in emerging markets are using their phones, and like what should be in our new phone. And of course, when you develop something here and like you don't really know what an emerging market is, all the engineers are like, oh, it has like email and like like all these cool things, and I'm like, email? And when you go there and you see that these are the phones that like people have, they wanted like TV and radio, and like that would be the last thing in a spec if you were building something in the States for like a smartphone. You're like, TV? What about YouTube? It's like, what? No, they literally like they would pull out antennas and they had like TVs on their phone. So it was a really, I mean, I love that we get to bring that research back to the engineering and design teams, but I also was like, okay, I don't want to work for anyone anymore. Like, I don't want to sit here and convince you guys like that I know this good stuff. Like, I'm done with you. So I quit. But what was really awesome about being at Mozilla for 18 months was that I realized that Wattbot, my first company, it wasn't a fluke. And I realized I really was an entrepreneur. I just didn't know it. My co-founder of my first startup, Kurt, he was like, Diane, I can't believe you're going to a big company, it's like 800 people. He was like, you're totally an entrepreneur. I was like, no, I mean, I know I have like entrepreneurial like aspects, and I'm a self-starter, but like, I don't know, maybe I'd just be better at a company. And he was like, you're not gonna last. And I was like, oh yeah, prove it. And so then I went, right, and I challenged him. I like called him up the day I quit. I went, you're not gonna believe this. You're so right. How do you know me better than me? Anyway, so if you believe you are one, and then if you go do something else and it's not working, you're totally an entrepreneur. I'll give you another question to ask yourself at the end to see if you're really an entrepreneur too. Anyway, okay, so I mean, I didn't quit, and then I was like, I needed something to do. Obviously, like the last 6 months or so at Mozilla, I was just like not really loving my work, so of course I had side projects. So my husband and I, he's a tech guy. Like I said, he went to school here, and I'm more in design and research, and so it was really a good pair. And we were like, let's build something together, yeah. And his company had just got bought, and he was kind of at that 2-year mark where he's allowed to leave. And so he was like, yeah, I want to do something more consumer. And I was like, yeah, I love consumers. They're the best. So even though like I couldn't obviously get Wattbot to work for consumers, so I could do it this time, yeah. So, all right, so I'm in Old Navy, I guess because I have no money, and that's where I shop. It's so embarrassing. All right, so I'm there, and I'm like, how come I can't get that skirt shipped to my house right now? Like, there's a lot of them, right? Didn't have my size. And so I asked someone in the store, and she's like, oh, I'll check the back. And I'm like, okay. And she does, and like, she doesn't have my size. And like, this is so frustrating. So I like pull out my iPhone, and I'm like, okay, buy green skirt, and I like take a picture of it, and then I'm like, okay, buy it, and I put in the reminders app, and I'm like, great. When I get home, I'm just going to go to oldnavy.com and go buy it, and then it'll be shipped to my house. This is great. What really happens is you take the Muni, you go home, you check your email, you cook dinner. Like, you don't go back and buy that skirt. You just keep on, your to-do list gets longer and longer, and like buying a skirt is not the top of the to-do list, right? But at the moment, I'm like, I want to buy this freaking skirt. Well, I'm not that angry, but so I'm like, how come you can't how come there's no way to just buy it from the store? I'm like, okay, I could download the Old Navy app, but like, who's going to do that? It's so embarrassing. I don't want that on my phone. And then I have to type in my credit card. Like, that's not going to happen either. Like, I want the skirt right now. Just like, find it for me. They could also call another store, right? Like, you see how I could get this skirt, but it's like, I don't want to do that. So I'm not getting the skirt. So I was like, oh, I had this new idea. So I like texted Gil, my husband, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got this new idea. This is going to be our new startup. It's consumer. You'll love it. So we sketch it out. It's called Tweet to Buy. It's amazing, guys. What you do is don't have to read that. You take a photo, and then you tweet it to like @OldNavyBuy or something, and then since I'm already I already have a banana card, like Old Navy already knows everything about me. They already have my credit card number. They buy it, and like someone replies, and I take a photo, and I'm like, green skirt, medium, go, or like tweet. And then it just shows up at my house, like the next day, right? Because Old Navy gets it, someone there, like literally just, super easy concept, right? Like, how come this doesn't exist in the world? So we're sketching it out, and, oh, Jessica's so sad, and, come on, there's like a real problem here. So we sketch it out a few more nights, and we're like, okay, well, what's the next step? Well, what do we have to really do to make this, make our to-do list? And then we're like, damn it, we can't do this on our own. We have to get like Old Navy to integrate really hardcore. Otherwise we'd be like, oh, if we just did it on our own, we'd be like, what's your credit card number? And it'd be like all those barriers again. So we're like, Old Navy's got to own this system. But, we have this idea. And we're like, crap, that's all we have. We have the idea. We know how to build it. but we really need Old Navy buy-in, or like we need all these stores buy-in. So then if you're really going to start that company, you need salespeople, and then we got to go pound, all these different places, and we really want a big company like Old Navy or Gap, right? Because like that's huge. You can't just go to like a boutique. Like no one's going to be like, oh, I really wish I had that skirt, right? Like, so anyway, we figured out that Tweet to Buy was a really fun exercise. Lasted about like 2 weeks, and we were like so excited. But we weren't the right team for it. Like we don't have sales backgrounds. We didn't really want to be pounding and trying to convince Old Navy to do something when you know that their to-do list of technical, is just a huge technical backlog. So we're like, all right, well, whatever. There's still something there, but like someone else will go do it. It's cool. But it's a super fun exercise to do. So, validate before you even build. And so not before you build. Of course you validate before you build. But validate before you build the whole thing. So like we're just sketching it out and thinking like, and then how does this work and how does this work? And like Gil could literally just start coding, right? And be like, and we'd have something really cool. But then if we thought about it a little bit more, we'd be like, oh, and then we get stuck. So it was like, just think through stuff, validate it, talk to different people, right? Like we were hearing before. And that's the way you're really going to process through. And then we didn't give up. Like it was like, you know what? We don't want to do this anymore. This isn't that interesting anymore. And we're not the right people for it. So, all right. So I'm like still kind of obsessed with clothes or something. So this is my closet. And I'm like, why is it so hard to get dressed in the morning? If I just had that damn Old Navy skirt, I'd be fine, right? No. That's really not the problem. The real problem is I'm not confident in the clothes I wear. And obviously I'm still not confident. And so, I mean, this stuff is hard. Like this is like stressing me out. All right, so it's stressing me out. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Want to go validate, wanted to go do some user research. So Gil and I on nights and weekends, we like call up our friends. We're like, well, that one like kind of has some issues with style, and like that one doesn't even care about what he wears. Let's go interview him to see if he would be a good person that would use our site or not. And we have this idea of what it is. So we interview like over 40 different people, spend like 2 hours in their house, take photos of their closets, have them explain like, yeah, why do you have all the shoes that are like different colors but the exact same like cut, or like what's up with that, or like just like hearing all the stories, ins and outs, what sucks about online shopping, what sucks about in-store shopping. We learned tons of stuff, and we're like, awesome. There are other people that have this pain of like getting dressed in the morning. So we decided to build a marketplace for personal stylists and clients. And these stylists don't have to be like super famous, high-end people. They just have to be people that love getting dressed in the morning and love helping other people. All right, so that's what we built. You could get a closet audit with your stylist. So you would meet on the site, then you'd meet up in person. And you could get a closet audit where they'd be like, get rid of this stuff, or like, oh, you're really wearing the wrong cut pants. And give you like new outfits and mix and match. And then you could go shopping with them. And like, how fun, right? But people like you and me, like our age, could go shopping with stylists because we made it really affordable. Because like Pam is one of our stylists. She's a lawyer full time. But she's like really stylish and she loves helping other people. And she's that person that everyone calls upon to style them, like just for fun. And so here she gets to get paid. So we're like, this is an amazing idea. So we build it some more. We launch it. It's going really well. Oh, maybe I have another slide for that. Okay, well, this is what it looks when you first launch it. It's just Twitter Bootstrap, really easy, right? Like, don't worry about the design. Just get it up in terms of the flow. It's super ugly, right? Like, what? But it worked. And we built this for just very minimum product, right? For 3 weeks, we got our first client to pay on the site in 3 weeks. And we're like, we are so good at this. So we kept on building. Then we got like new branding, redesign, and we're like, oh, now we're really good, right? We're like written up in some press. All right, so it's working, right? Like it's going awesome. It's not going like hockey stick or anything, but like we're transacting money. We're like, hey, mommy, I made more money, and it's like hundreds of dollars. I'm like, I made another transaction today on my website. They're like, what? But then we're like, crap, what about all the people in the middle of the country? Like, we're in New York, we're in LA, we're in Seattle, we're in Pittsburgh, because, that's where we went to school. We're in San Francisco. What about, like, everywhere else? Like, oh, man, we'll never be able to grow that fast and get everywhere, So we're like, all right. So it was really hard for us to, like, realize. We're like, no, we'll just grow faster. It's like, no, we're not going to really solve the problem. So then we decided to build this new site that we're actually just doing now. It's in private beta. You guys get this little sneak peek. Aren't you lucky? And now you can work with a stylist whenever, wherever. And so we're still testing this out and trying to figure out, but it's kind of like Pinterest-esque. I guess a lot of products are now. But anyway, it really helps you work on your style and not just having you work with your style in person with a stylist. So anyway, so that's where we're at now. And my takeaway is that you should keep iterating until you get traction. Like, we could have kept on pushing on that marketplace, like in real life, and you can still do in real life on the service now. But if we just kept on pushing on that, like, there was this other, you were saying this before too, right? Like, that pot of gold, it's not gold yet, it's like silver or something still. But, we're like, you know what, we gotta go that way. We gotta see if there's something here. And it's super hard, and like, we're still going through that transition. But just keep on iterating, and it's okay. Like, we failed how many times? We failed that first time in branding, right? We failed, but like, we knew it, and we're like, just keep on going, it's gonna get better. So, in summary, these are my insights from my life, all my life insights, on product and service development. So solve problems that you're passionate about. I can't stress that one enough. This is an insight, like, I'm an entrepreneur. Maybe that's like just for me. You guys will have this another time. And validate before you build the whole product. And then keep iterating until you actually get traction. Like the product market fit thing, I still don't really know what that feels like, so I can't really tell you about it. But just keep iterating and you'll get there. So this is my parting words. This is how you know if you're an entrepreneur. If you wake up every morning after you get dressed, and you're like, just think of what drives you crazy. You just think about that for a second. That's the problem you should be solving. Or like that industry. Okay, think about that more later too. So that's what I have for you guys. We're also hiring. I thought I could do this slide. Thanks, you guys.
Can I open it up for questions?
Yeah, go for it. I left a lot of time for questions.
Hi. I'd like to know, how did you get the first stylist for your last startup?
How did I get my first stylist?
Yeah, the early stylist, actually, I guess, 10 first ones.
How did I get my first client and my first stylist?
Yeah, the first stylist, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so for the stylist, when I said that we were interviewing people in their homes, like 40 of them, some of those people were stylists. So like a friend would be like, oh my gosh, you should totally talk to my friend Connie. She's like, she used to work at Gap and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, yeah, we totally should. Can you make an email intro? And then, so I feel like, I mean, this is all repetitive. You guys are going to hear the same thing for 3 days. But we were telling everyone what we were working on. Like, we didn't care. If someone was going to build it faster than us, way to go them. We were really passionate about this idea, and we were just telling everyone about it. We're like, so like, what do you think? And getting their feedback. And sometimes it'd be like, we don't really care what you think. We'll still politely ask. But by talking to everyone and letting them know, that's how we met the stylists. Because honestly, none of them were our friends. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this problem. I could just call my friends. I don't have stylish friends. So it was through friends of friends that I started to find these other stylists. But I could have done it a lot of different ways too, like put a post up somewhere to a really stylish like blog or something. Hey, anyone interested in this? But it was just by talking to a whole bunch of people, and someone was bound to know someone that wanted to be a stylist.
I think you need a style conference.
What?
I think you need a style conference.
Okay. I'll do that on the side.
What is a green roof, actually?
Oh. Bring me back. Okay, I don't have like a technical explanation anymore, but basically you don't use real soil, but it's building vegetation on top of a roof. And it's really great for the environment, like cleans the air, because that's what like grass and all these other things do too, right? But it's like we have heat island effect is this thing that makes cities hot because the sun comes in and then bounces off and everything's like tar or black or dark and it just makes everything hotter and, you know, climate change and all of that. So green roofs really help with climate change by making the air around there cooler. Yeah.
What did you name your site, like Share Some Style? I mean, because it's an attractive name, but you don't really know what it's about when you read that name, right?
Yeah, so I think there's like something nice about the curiosity. Naming a product is like the hardest thing ever. Like naming a product and the branding of it is probably like so much harder than figuring out like the UX flow and everything. But Share Some Style, we wanted to make it accessible to people. And we wanted it to be not like we have stylists and then we have like ugly people or something, right? It's like, no, everyone's sharing style, right? So this person's maybe really good about shoes. It's not like that. And this person's really good about like jackets or like whole outfits. These people can do fancy stuff. So we're like, it's all about sharing. And what's really interesting now is actually quite a few of our stylists have worked with other stylists on the site because style is like this thing that always transforms and like, then you get a new job. Now you're a professor at Berkeley and you need to dress a different way, right? Like you're always kind of going through this evolution. So it's not like here are the good guys and then like here are the people that need help. It was like, you know, we're all going to share. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got a question about kind of the new direction that you're going with the Pinterest kind of look. So, I mean, how do you differentiate that? You know, your product against Pinterest or like sites like Polyvore, for example?
So we're not trying to be the like end all be all where everyone comes. We are trying to help you with your personal style. And so we still want you to work with a stylist, but you can work with a stylist on our site. And the huge like visual communication part is this Pinterest thing that a lot of people are familiar with. So you can post photos of yourself and ask questions. You can post like these shoes and be like, should I have worn these with my jeans? And then your stylists and all the stylists on the site can upload photos and tag them for different situations. And so you can do like a much more targeted search. If you've ever tried to been inspired by just like going to Pinterest and searching, it kind of sucks. Like I've tried it a lot. Yeah, so it's more of a place where you can get inspired, but it's personalized advice for you, not like, hey, here's the new trend, you know, everyone start wearing pink now. It's like, oh, how can I wear those things? How can I piece this together? I'm going through this life stage. Help, like, our stylists are like coaching you through your different style needs.
So my question is about how what's your biggest problem as you've evolved your company from just 2 people to more? Is it hiring new people? Is it working and scaling your existing product?
I think right now, I mean, personally, it's traction. We want to make sure that we have like tons of traction, that we know exactly what, like if we turn a little knob, then something will go a different way. And then if we turn this knob, then it'll go, you know, like we want to really know how to direct different outcomes. And so we have some hunches, but we're not 100% sure of all these different strategies. So we're just trying to work on that without hiring tons of people and getting, you know, we don't want to look for money yet. Like, we're like, no, let's just figure this out ourselves. And if it's freaking awesome, we don't want anyone else's money, right? Like, we'll just do it. So that's what we're up to. Yeah. Hi, I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, whoa. Okay. Oh, well, thank you very much for speaking. Your story is really cool and awesome. But so I was just wondering about when you were doing the green box initially, what made you just like stop pursuing that anymore? What was that stopping point? It was like, I'm just not going to do it.
For the green roof stuff?
Yeah. And I guess the solar panels.
Oh, well, so the green roof stuff I never made money on. So I was like, okay, I need to like tone that down a little. But we started this task force, and like, I don't think task force should exist forever. We had it for like a year or so, and we're like, I think we got our point across. We made this pilot, freaking got the National Geographic. The Academy of Sciences has a green roof now. Obviously not because of our pilot, but like, there's a lot more green roof stuff happening. We're educating the professionals that would be asking for and building green roofs. And so I felt like that part was done, and we could move on to bigger and better things.
Okay. Yeah. And then I have a second question. So does that mean Mozilla is making an OS for my phone? Because I saw it up there.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to get them in
No.
the States, though.
Okay.
But yeah, if you go fly somewhere else and you show your phone.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I assume that people book and pay online on your platform for the stylists. How do you overcome the problem that any future transactions between a stylist and a client still make money for your platform? I think it's a typical problem for all online platforms.
Sure. So we were getting asked this a lot now, and with the online stuff, it won't be so much about transactions. It'll be more like a membership and like recurring revenue, like just coming in monthly. So we won't have to be like, oh no, they ran away and went off together. But even still, we're a little afraid of that. And then we were watching and looking at the behavior, and I'd call up stylists and be like, so what would make you leave, or like why are you using our site instead of just taking cash like at the mall, or I'm like, no, seriously, tell me, like I don't actually understand. They're like, are you kidding? I'm a social media strategist, or I'm a lawyer, I'm a UX designer. I'm doing this for fun. I don't want to ask the client for money at the end. Like they really love that someone else was dealing with it and that they were doing it before, that they were paying before they actually met in person, and then it felt more like how they were very used to. If we were targeting professional stylists, then like I'd have no good answer. But because we were targeting the non-professional but still good at what they did, that worked out really nice for us. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a quick question. For like something like Share Some Style, you need a critical mass of like stylists and like non-stylists, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you figure out what that magic number is, and like what do you do in the process before you reach that critical mass?
So I want a critical mass after I know what the hell I'm doing. And I don't know that I'm exactly there yet. And so we have I think we have just over 100 stylists in a lot of different regions in the US. And that is keeping us super busy in terms of like understanding what their needs are and what the actual behaviors are on the site. And then we've had like obviously more than that in terms of clients. And we're learning from them too. And so I think don't think like, oh, I need 1,000 and 1,000, or 5,000 and 1,000. Right. Think like I need 1 and 1, and it needs to be amazing. And then I need 1 and 1 again. And then if it's not amazing, why would you want 1,000 people having your crappy ass service, right? So like work on the 1-on-1 and then the other 1-on-1, and then you'll get to the 1,000. And it might take like a year and a half, or it's not that long for us yet, but it might take 3 years or something. But that's how I would build it.
Actually, that's a really interesting point. You said that you have like about 100 stylists like throughout the U.S. So how did you get that? Because like you're based in San Francisco.
It's amazing how they just kind of come to us. But the better answer is we're really good on SEO. And so if you search personal stylist Pittsburgh, personal stylist New York, we're on the first page. And
SEO, sorry?
Oh, sorry. There you go. When you Google something, what comes to the first page, you can try to do really well in getting yourself up there, and that's like a whole skill, and I think we have that to a certain degree. We've worked kind of hard on that, and so if someone's just doing a search for it, they will find us, opposed to just finding another random stylist in their area. But a lot of like fashion bloggers and people that are stylists are also searching that to see like, did they come up on the first page? Mm-hmm. And I get calls all the time and emails all the time, and they're like, I am not, they're like, how old are you guys? I just found you, because they were searching and they thought that they would get higher, and then like we just popped up, and they're like, who are you guys? Like you're all up on the first page. You're like, oh yeah, hi. So yeah, that's how we've been finding it.
Great, thank you.
Did you have a question?
Hello? Okay. How did you determine like a pricing model, and is it different like in different areas? Like how do you figure that out?
I can tell you like how you figure out pricing in general, but it's a lot of trial and error, honestly. Right now we're testing some things, and some people are getting a service for free, other people are paying price A, other people are paying price B. We're just kind of seeing like how they value different things. But the way that the stylists are setting their rates right now per hour, if you meet in person, is they're just setting their own rates, and then they can change it at any time. And we tell them, like, if you're not getting any business, maybe you're too high. When life starts to get really stressful for you and you're like, I can't take every single person that comes in, make your price a little higher so they can kind of figure out how the market swings.
Christine, I wanted to ask, how do you deal with any bad or poor interactions between the stylist and the clients offline, or are you not trying to solve those at all?
Oh no, that's like totally all part of the experience. We're totally trying to solve that.
Can you say, I just couldn't hear it. What are you trying to solve? I just wanted to know whether or not they have protocols set in place for dealing with the social interactions that happen between the clients and the stylist offsite.
Yeah, so we send each party an email like the night before, like, hey, so you're going to have your session tomorrow. Here's a reminder. Here's what you should expect. And then same with the stylist. So they both kind of get like, here's what you should expect. They know that they can contact us if anything ever goes wrong. But so far, nothing's gone wrong. So I'm not saying that nothing will go wrong. But online, there's been snafus for sure, and then I can just chime right in. But offline, because you can talk to the stylist for free for 15 minutes before you ever meet in person, that I think helps to mitigate. Because then it's more like a friend that you're meeting up with, opposed to like, so I'll meet you on this corner, and if you're a freak, I'll scream and then run away. Like, that doesn't happen.
So at what point are you charging money? They get
charged before they go on the session. So they'll be like, let's go shopping for 3 hours. They pay beforehand. They go. If they run over, they can come back and pay a little, or whatever, but it's an honest system there. And then they meet in person. They have a fantastic time. And then, and then if they don't, like I said, nothing's been crazy, but like one interaction, it was like, oh, it was fine, but like she wasn't like my new BFF, right? So, and we kind of got that feedback, and we're like, oh, and then we just interviewed both parties like separately, and we're like, so how did it go? Tell me more about it. And then same on the other side, and we're like, oh, it was just a personality like mismatch. Like they were totally fine, and so we're like, oh, how can we fix that? And then we started to introduce this 15-minute free intro call to really make sure that like you guys are both really excited to meet each other instead of like, I hope it works.
And then at that point, if they're not really into it, do they get refunded?
Oh no, they can do the 15-minute free thing before they ever pay anything. Like and then when they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, then they give us their money. Yeah.
Diane, thank you very much.
Thanks, you guys.